This episode is powered by Hyatt, your smart companion for digital business solutions, and by ODTEC's gracious invitations and support. Thank you for having me at the conference and fueling this journey. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of Devs on Tape. Today, again, you know it, from Grapevine, Texas, from the KSCOPE25 from ODTEC. Today, again, a very interesting guest, but this time I'm really looking forward to interview Edward Roske. So, Edward, how are you?
I am amazing. I've been interviewing a bunch of people myself, not for my podcast, but interviewing various vendors and partners and other people. And it's nice being able to be on the other side of the chair and actually get interviewed. So I've heard 20 plus people talk about themselves, and the opportunity to talk about myself, which is a subject I actually know really, really well. I'm honored to be here.
Looking forward to it. So we might slide directly into your introduction. So you might do it by yourself, right?
My name is Edward Roske. I am on the ODTEC board of directors. I do a lot of things. I'm actually a data scientist. I was an Oracle-based director for 15 years. I've written 15 plus books on Essbase, Hyperion, Oracle EPM Cloud. I have started many a company. These days, I'm living full-time in the AI world. Okay. And I happen to know you are German. You hide it very, very well. But my last name is Roske, and I present all around the world. And I'll tell you an odd little story. I got to present in Berlin for DOUG a couple of years ago on an ACE tour, and I was very honored to be there. And I thought I would connect with the audience. And I said, yeah, I'm Edward Roske. Roske is obviously German. And one day I'm going to find out where the Roskes are in Germany. And a guy in the back of the room raised his hand and he said, I know of the Roskes. And I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, please tell me a little bit, right before I'm ready to begin my session. And he said, they live in the southeast corner of Germany. It is where the poor people are from.
Oh, that's not nice to hear, right?
Yeah, well, I've since decided that the Germans have the best sense of humor of anybody in the world. It's just dry, or he was really being honest. But I choose to believe he was kidding.
Dry or not existent, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, connecting to the audience is something you very experienced in, right? So I did a little research on you, but besides hearing everything from yourself, I just introduced some of those topics. So you already mentioned 15 plus books. So how you can even manage to write that many books without repeating yourself?
Well, it's really easy. You start with a copy paste as a new document, then you find and replace the old product name with the new product name. And congratulations, there's a second book. I had some amazing co-authors with me. I used to do a lot more writing because if you're listening to this and you're 37, this will be hard to believe. But there was a time that when you flew on airplanes, there was not Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. And you had lots of hours to spend on your own. I do a ton of traveling. I've been to, as of this time, 87 countries that I've visited and spoken in, including on all 7 continents. I have webcasted from Antarctica even. So I would spend all this time on airplanes. And because you had time to focus, I would spend 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours writing books. And I never got writer's block, but it was my time to figure out what have I learned? How can I actually pass it on? And I wrote the first book back in 2007. I think I can tell this story because the statute of limitations has passed. It was a book on Essbase, and I called it Essbase for Mere Mortals: An Insider's Guide.
Okay.
And I had to hurry and finish it. So I called up the amazing Tracy McMullen and I said, I'm writing this book for the last couple of years because I kept getting tired of waiting for someone else to write an Essbase book. And there wasn't one. At the time, Hyperion had a book called the Essbase Database Administrator's Guide that was a lookup manual, but nothing actually said, you're starting here, you can walk through building a cube, and when you're done, it's complete. So I called up Tracy and I said, we have 6 weeks to finish this book because Hyperion just got bought by Oracle. And I don't know if they're going to kill off the product. What's going to happen to Hyperion? What's going to happen to Essbase? Let's rush this book into production. And we dedicated our first book to anyone who could figure out a way to kill publication deadlines because it was such a rush. But we got it rushed. We got it to the printer. We had 500 copies printed, and we figured we would sell 4, maybe 5 of the copies, have 495 left to give out to our great-grandchildren someday.
Maybe to burn
So,
them, right?
yeah, during times of I don't know, global climate coldness, we do it for warmth. So we took the 500 copies to the final Hyperion Solutions Conference in 2007, and they were gone in a couple hours.
Okay.
And we said, wow. And everyone's like, well, what do you mean you sold them all? It's like, we did one print run. Like, we thought that was it. So we said, well, the first thing we need to do is get out a bigger print run, but maybe we should trademark the title. So somebody else, I don't know if you ever wanted to write an Essays from Immortals, an insider's guide. So
Not yet.
we call an intellectual property lawyer and we say, hey, we've got this book. Can you please trademark Essays from Immortals, an insider's guide? And a couple weeks later, he called back and he said, I've got some bad news, but I've got some good news. And it's like, okay, what's the bad news? And they said, blank for mere mortals has already been trademarked. You cannot write a book in the technology space. I was like, oh, shoot, we issued a trademark infringement title. And I was like, what's the good news? And they said, also any book title ending in an insider's guide also cannot be trademarked. And I'm like, how is that in any way good news? And they said, because you have a blank slate. You have to start completely over from scratch with what your title is going to be. So then we spent a couple of months going, well, what about this? And what about this? And any decent idea we came up with, someone had already trademarked.
Oh.
So in a moment of flippant annoyance, I said, why don't we just call it look smarter than you are? Because like no one wants to say that like they look stupid. It's like look smarter than you are. And he had checked, and about a day later, he's like, congratulations. That's such a bizarre title. No one has done it. So,
so you trademarked it.
Yeah. So all 15 books since then have been under Look Smarter Than You Are. And the original versions, the trademark infringement version, do sell for a decent amount of money online. I hope they don't show up in a trademark case someday.
You will be prepared for that, right? So nowadays. All right. So asking you like 15 plus books. That's so many. And I was expecting you to say 15 plus books are coming now in the coming year because using AI, right? So you don't have to copy and paste yourself. You just say, use this book and just change a couple of version numbers and maybe adjust something and go for it, right?
Yeah, I could feed it to AI and say, please use my dry German wit in all of these books and write a topic on this one. I've actually read a lot of AI slop lately. Mm-hmm. I will say I actually don't mind AI generated things if they are well prompted, if they're actually adding value. If the entirety of the prompt is really quickly write a 50,000 page or 50,000 word ebook on topic X, it's going to be miserable because the AI just kind of repeats itself. But I like your idea. Mm-hmm. There's not context windows big enough. I could grab Google Gemini, literally feed it the entire text of every book I've ever authored or co-authored, and tell it, write a book in this style.
Yeah.
And I think it might be able to do it.
Maybe just start slowly, right? So here's the approach. Get all 15 books and do like a second edition of all of them. So just proofread them, get it in the right language for today's knowledge, right? And then do a second edition of everything. And then you do a best of, like summarize like the best quotes on the 15 books. So you're still like, you got another 17 books, right? Or 16 books then. But I'm not encouraging you to just flood the market with AI created stuff. But
I think more likely I'll end up writing a book on AI for finance. Most of my attention these days is on better ways to use AI. And it's weird. I've been very resistant to using AI to do my writing. I will tell you that AI, when well prompted, is better than 90% of writing that people have out there. There are some that fall into that top 10%, and I'm egotistical enough to think at the moment I'm up there, but I realize the day is coming when that AI is actually going to write it a whole lot better than I do.
Yeah, but I mean, at some point we have like AI generated books and AI is reading them to summarize it for you. So it's kind of a
why don't we even stop in the middle? Like, why don't we just tell the AI, just teach me 5 bullets and pretend you read that somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. That's where we are with Apple Intelligence right now, right? So you have like a couple of tools inside those pages and stuff and say summarize it. They even do advertisements online with it in Germany right now. All right, so maybe we just rewind a little bit because we want to know how you get where you are right now. So what I know about you is that you love sharing your knowledge, right? Not just only in like scientific touched books, or I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but you write books for specialists, right? But almost specialists, I guess. And I know that you have a passion for just sharing your knowledge. So when does this start? So right from school, or did you just find it out later?
Mhm. So what I've discovered about myself over the years is I learn through teaching. If I can, if I'm just gathering knowledge for myself, I'm only going to go just as deep as I need to use that
Mhm.
knowledge. But if I'm having to pass it on to other people, I learn more deeply. So if I want to really learn about how AI can modernize supply chain, I'll decide I'm going to go write a paper on it, or I'm going
Mhm.
to write a webcast on it. And then I will deep dive because I want to know all the different aspects of it.
At
So
least for sharing it afterwards, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to know more than at least 1% more than all the people that I'm talking to. I'm not going to know 100% of everything, but I want to learn enough to pass it on.
Mhm.
My personal aspirational goal in life, I want to leave the world a smarter place than I found it.
Mhm. I got this on my notes, so I'm just nodding and just pretending I know what what I want to say right now because you just got me. All right, so you started to share your stuff. You dig deep into the stuff you want to share in future things. But how do you know in which direction you want to go? So there are plenty of topics you are technically knowing many stuff about. But how did you just find your way into the EPM area? So I'm just pretending knowing what EPM is doing because I had a podcast recording yesterday. But how was your journey into the technical EPM?
So let's go back in history to what accidentally happened. First of all, I tend to do things very young. I started college part-time at 15, college full-time at 16, got married at 17, had a kid at 18, started consulting at 20, and founded a consulting company at 22.
All right. So how old are you right now? 27, I guess.
Yes, and I've done a lot of companies and a lot of growth since then. Yes, I am now 51. Had a birthday fairly recently, but I got it all out of the way at a really young age. And one of my first roles back between 18 and 20 it was a combination financial role, technology role, but the technology was Microsoft Excel
Okay.
because I was the only person back then, this is like 92, that was capable of learning this new technology called Excel. And I got really good at it and then started helping out finance. And then over a couple of years, eventually became the coordinator of the entire finance department at like age 20. And I had this finance skill set and I had this Excel/technology skill set. And the company was going through some downsizing. And they came to me and they said, "We want you to cut somebody from your department." And this is weird. I don't know if I ever talked about this. I submitted the list back with my own name on it. And in that same group, there was a lady named Leah and another lady named Kathy. And they were value add to the organization. I felt I was adding value, but I knew I could get another job. And I
Mhm.
wasn't sure if Leah and Kathy could. So the overconfidence, the hubris of youth, like I think, okay, I'm going to launch out into that world. So I submitted my own name. They're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, you will
Being
save more
generous, right?
money.
Yeah.
They have a gainful employment. I'll be just fine, and it'll
Mhm.
be the easiest conversation you ever had." So I think they also thought I had a screw loose. So I sent out 11 resumes. This is back in '95, and of those 11, I sent 5 out to companies looking for finance professionals. I sent 5 out to people looking for technology professionals because I grew up coding starting at age 7 with my TRS-80 color computer. So I had a lot of technology in addition to Excel. So I sent those out. But there was one job interview or one job posting, and it was on this new technology called monster.com.
Oh yeah, I know that.
And
Yeah.
so I went out to Monster and I started typing in finance and technology. And there was a weird job post that said, if you know S-Space, finance, or technology, if you know 2 of the 3 of those things, we will teach you the third.
All
And I'm
right.
like, I know what finance is, I know what technology is, and I don't have a clue what S-Space is. Maybe I even thought it was pronounced ESS space or
Mhm.
something at the time. So I submitted my resume out and I got job offers from finance, job offers from technology. But then this company, Technium, back in 1995 said, Essbase takes spreadsheets and it makes it so you can slice and dice, zoom into them, drag stuff from the rows up to the columns and back again. You can dive into this awesomeness of information. And they said it's this booming new area called OLAP.
Mhm.
And they said there's Every database ever built from the dawn of mankind up through now is OLTP. It's a database optimized for transactions, getting records in and records back out. But OLAP is optimized for analysis. That's what A stands for, online analytical processing. And that's what we called it back then. So I was wavering until they said something that closed me. I said, well, are there any concerns you have as to reason you might not hire me? And they said, well, you're coming from the corporate world. And in the corporate world, you always know what you're going to do every month. But in the consulting world, you're going to do a different thing every 2 or 3 months as you go from project to project. There's no getting comfortable. And at that point, I might have worked for free.
Okay.
I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard because I bore really easily. It's like, I get to do cool new stuff all the time. Well, coming close to finishing my history lesson. So Essbase was at the time called OLAP, and it went through a number of different names to describe it. They called it EISs, Executive Information Systems, DSS, Decision Support Systems. Eventually, that company that made Essbase, Arbor, merged with a apps company called Hyperion. And they took the Hyperion name, and they needed a name to describe multidimensional databases, which is fundamentally what Essbase is, a multidimensional database with pre-built business applications to do things like financial reporting, consolidation, and planning. And the name they came up with was Business Performance Management, or BPM. They probably came from a focus group. It's any good term should have an opposite, right? Online transaction processing has the opposite, online analytical processing. There is no one on earth who does not want to manage the performance of their business. Like, you don't step forward and go, well, I'm looking for business performance non-management. So clearly created by a focus group. So BPM, Business Performance Management. They paid a whole lot of money to get that terminology to catch on with the world. So much so that Gartner stepped forward to do a magic quadrant of all of the BPM tools that were out there in the world, and discovered that Hyperion had trademarked BPM. And they're like, shoot, we can't use that. So they switched the B to a C, going with Corporate Performance Management. And they launched the Corporate Performance Management Magic Quadrant. It had like Hyperion, Cognos, Business Objects all over it. Now advanced to 2007, we're super close to the end of the history lesson.
Super close.
Oracle acquires Hyperion and says, well, if managing the performance of your business is good, if managing corporate performance is even better, let's manage the performance of your entire enterprise. So they rebranded it to EPM, Enterprise Performance Management.
There are not many options left, right?
Yeah. I think eventually we're going to get, like, during the zombie apocalypse, we're going to get to like ZPM, like zombie performance management. But...
Trademark it right now. So you don't,
shoot, yes.
There's always 2 times you got into the hassle of trademarking your name you choose, right?
Quickly find someone, trademark ZPM and attribute it to me.
Be faster than me.
So I've been expanding over the years. Eventually, at the ripe old age of 22, said, let's launch a company to go do Essbase, multidimensional, BPM, CPM, EPM, and all the various little baby PMs that are out there. And I've been living that life ever since, with a recent change. The company I created, NRL, got joined up with a few other companies, became what is now Argonaut. It's a few thousand employees on their path towards like global domination. And in 23, I realized that we were entering an inflection point where we were going to look and we were going to see a world before and a world after. And that's AI. Like, we're going to look back at this time period of the early 2020s, and we're going to remember what life was like before it. We're going to remember what life was like after it. And I didn't want to be sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah,
so I want to launch out and do AI full time.
So, I mean, you said you were very into like founding Indira. This was the first time I saw you, like back in the days. My first KSCOPE, like 2016, I guess. If it's 2016 or 2019, it was Chicago, I guess. And I saw your big booth in the exhibition hall. Like, Interrail was not only a booth; it was like a kind of a maze where you can walk in, right? And everything was steampunk styled. And I thought, what big company is this that they happen to have a booth like this size, right? So how big went Interrail?
Oh, I think we were 600 square feet was that booth that year. I won't tell you the cost of that booth, but I will tell you it's 6 digits in US dollars.
So were you so into new customers getting from KSCOPE, or was it just a personal preference?
That particular year, I just really like steampunk. And being CEO, there was a category on the income statement that was politely referred to as ownership whims.
Okay.
Would we have gotten just as many customers if we'd done one of these corporate, put up a boring backdrop, put out a table
just
kind
a
of
roll
thing?
up and yeah.
We might have, but would you still be talking about it
No,
10 years
definitely
later?
not. So I still have the backpack saying Interrail on it, and I was just searching for Interrail all the time. And then I did a little research and said, okay, I don't really know what's happening in the US during the year, right? So in KSCOPE, I'm just seeing what is here, and then I research what's happening. So Google Cloud is here on the booth, which is something new for me, and Interrail is gone. So I was searching for that, and instead of that, we're sitting in a glass cubic in the middle of the exhibition hall where your booth was about to stand, right? And I saw Argano, and it's not that big than Interrail was, right?
Yeah, they're much more cost smart
Mhm.
than I ever was. KSCOPE was always Interrail's biggest event. We were the first partner. If you actually go way back to 2008, we came from Hyperion Solutions, and at Solutions, everyone did a creative booth. They were trying to stand out. Uniqueness was embraced. And when I took the S-Base community along with Tim Toe, and because Hyperion Solutions got shut down, wanted to bring the S-Base people to a conference. Mike Riley reached out to me and said, I think there'd be a good home for you all at KSCOPE. And so 2008 in New Orleans, I reached out to Kathleen McClaslin, who was running the conference at the time with YCC. And I said, I'd like, I think we had a 800 square foot booth at the Final Solutions. So I reached out and I'm like, oh, well, can I get an 800 square foot booth? And she said, if you took every one of our vendors together, they don't have 800 square feet. It's like, we do 10 by 10 spaces with tables at our event. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing a table. Can I at least have a 10 by 20? And she's like, I guess I could sell you two 10 by 10s. I was like, well, I don't know, create a level. So at the time, there were no levels. You were just an exhibitor with a 10 by 10, or you were not. So I said, well, I don't make up something, like call it a gold partner, charge me a bit more money, give me a 10 by 20. So we were the first KSCOPE bigger than a 10 by 10 back then. And then a couple more people went, we'd like a 10 by 20 as well. So Kathleen came to me and said, congratulations, you get to move up a level to an even bigger booth. You get to do a 20 by 20, and now you're going to pay us more money, and you're going to be a platinum sponsor. And I was like, sounds cool. So that'll give me more space to work with. So give me my 400 square feet. We'll go do something with it. A few more years later, she came back to me and she said, we need some more platinum sponsors. A lot more people want the 20 by 20s. We're going to move you up to 20 by 30 and give you 600 square feet. And we're going to charge you more. And looking back on this, I think this was an opportunity to keep charging me more money.
It was upscaling, right?
Wow, how did I not appreciate that at the time? So they gave us a 20 by 30 and they said, well, we need something of a platinum. I'm a big Marvel fan. So I was advocating for adamantium, little partnership above it. I'd even been okay with like unobtainium. Vibranium would have been nice. But I remember Natalie Delamar was president at the time, and her exact words were, Edward, those aren't real. So I was like, okay, what is a real metal? And then they offered us titanium. So we were titanium sponsors all the way up through pandemic. Then we became part of Argano. Argano said, yeah, you don't need 600 square feet to go talk to the KSCOPE people. So I passed the titanium torch to Applied OLAP. I don't know why I think titanium burns, but I gave it to Applied OLAP. They are now have this amazing 600 square foot booth on the floor. And Argano's got a 10 by 10.
I mean, if you would still be at Interrail, or Interrail would be separate from Argano, then we might have another hall in 2025.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's the new status level. You get your own exhibit hall level partner.
Name not existent because we have all the different like elements in the period system.
Yeah.
All right, so
the uranium level were radioactive.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. What is like Superman is having, like kryptonium?
Kryptonite?
Kryptonite. It could be kryptonite.
Yeah,
right?
Which apparently I think is now an actual element on the periodic table. So.
Right. Okay. Read that you're still not done learning, right? So you just finished another university graduate?
Yeah. I speak a lot around the world. I'm in 85 plus countries at this point, traveling around, trying to take what I've learned and pass it on. I have spoken at conferences, user groups, companies, webcasts. I speak at universities. So I talk about data science before they even called it that at Stanford and Berkeley, universities all over the place. And it occurred to me during pandemic that well, number one, I suddenly had time on my hands because I wasn't traveling everywhere. And I didn't want to look back at the pandemic time with a lot of, I wish I had done this. Because everybody always says, oh, if I was locked at home for 6 months, I'd write a book. Well, I always said if I had time, I would go get a master's degree. And I looked around and said, what am I going to do? And it's like, you know what? I've been lecturing on data science since before they even named it. Maybe I should get the theory to go with the real world.
Okay.
So I went to SMU. I think I was the most overqualified student they'd ever seen in their master's program. Like, you teach on this. Would you like to guest lecture in your own class? I was like, no, I just really want to understand the theory behind it. I think I'd read an article that data scientist was the sexiest job of the 21st century. It was a Harvard Business Review article. And I was like, I would like the sexiest job of the 21st
so
century,
you got
please.
the degree at least for that.
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. It was an opportunity to pick people up. So I got it during pandemic, graduated at the end of 21 with a master's in data science. I actually graduated top of my class. That is a humble brag that I don't think I've ever said out loud. But I got to give the commencement address to the data science students. To be clear, I was the oldest person, I think, in the data science program. I don't just mean the students. I was older than the professors in the data science program.
So were you in the student connection thing, like in the dorm?
Yeah,
just staying in a room with like 5 other people?
Thankfully, it was an online program because it was during pandemic. I think we were all I stepped foot on SMU campus twice. It was for the opening orientation weekend. We were all socially distanced, and for graduation, and the final presentation of our project, and that was it. But I love what I learned. It's like, this is amazing. Like, I had no idea that you needed to calculate all these values. And they taught me so much about statistics. And I got really good at Python and really good at R. I loved my SMU program. But I will tell you, the world of academia is very different than the real world. My statistics professor at one point said, anytime you present to an executive your findings about data science, they will always ask what your p-value is.
Okay.
Now, to be clear, to anyone that doesn't know statistics, the p-value is the percent likelihood confidence that you believe in your model. And he said, yeah, if you talk to a CFO, they'll go, what is your p-value for your cash flow forecast? I have never in the history of Earth, and I talked to a lot of CFOs, ever been asked for my p-value on any model, on any prediction, on any budget, on anything that I put out there. And I thought that was kind of adorable. They never mentioned the word profit one time during my entire educational career. They mentioned sales once. We were analyzing sales of beer, different packaging, but it's very disconnected from the business world. There was an entire class we took on how to present our findings to CFOs, and they said, at the end of all this, you're going to faux present to the CFO of PepsiCo. And I'm like, oh, I know him. And they're like, wait, what? Like, oh, I present him all the time. And they said, well, he's very, very busy. You have exactly 7 minutes, because it's a commonly known fact. You'll back me up on this, Kai, that CFOs only give 7 minutes to any meeting. This is not true. But I was like, I'm raising my hand. They hated me. I remember the person who interviewed me for the program. She called me up after letting me in, and she said, we've made a decision that we're not going to warn your professors about you. I was like, okay, I'm going to take that with a grain of salt. But yes, they felt you get 7 minutes. I'm like, you get a couple hours with a CFO if you're compelling, or they'll kick you out in 30 seconds. Like, there's never a random 7-minute thing. But I graduated, and I was so happy to have learned, because the wonderful thing about a program like that is you're forced to spend time learning. And we always think we're going to do it, but we don't. So I came out with this amazing master's of data science degree in business analytics. And it's like, I've got a sexy job.
Did you influence the professors during that session? So you said like it was each and every time they telling you stuff, and you said, no, it's not true. Did you just sit there and said, oh, come let them talk? And
oh, dear Lord, no. No, I was the scourge of their existence. I was polite enough not to do it publicly.
Yeah.
I would come to them off to the side and go, yeah, I do a lot in the real world, because I just got it backwards. I didn't do theory, real world. I did real world theory. So I told them kind of how the real world was. And they at least pretended to appreciate it. Yeah. Actually, I'm remarkably good friends with my professors there. I view them as like peers, colleagues, and we talk to each other all the time. What I will say about my master's of data science and my sexiest job of the 21st century is that 90% of it is now irrelevant.
Okay.
And that was 2.5 years ago.
You can write it on your CV at least, right?
Yes, exactly.
You don't never need that
I can
again.
walk around and say, I am a data scientist. It sounds very impressive.
But it's at the least impressive of the things you can already tell about, right? So,
well, I was so happy. It's like, I'm an amazing Python developer. Like, I can write R with the best of them. And as of February 2025, no one writes code anymore.
Yeah.
They're all vibe coding, which basically means AI coding. We used to just call it all coding. But if you create a new name, you have to then back name the old thing.
Yeah.
Right. So we now have vibe coding out there in the world. So everyone's like, oh, shoot, what do we call the old thing that we used to do? And it's like, oh, we're now going to call that hand coding.
Hand coding,
yes. So I'm an expert at hand coding, which is like craft coding. You know, it's couture or something.
Like the stuff Brandad did back then, right? So.
Yes, exactly. So if anyone out there in the podosphere needs someone to hand code Python or hand code R, definitely call me.
There might be the time when a company is asking you to save the world by just hand coding something, and there are just a couple of people left, right? So everyone knows how ChatGPT works and all the different kind of AI, but you are the one. You can open the editor, even on the console, doing like Vim or something, and you just hard code there. No, hand code that.
It'll be you can't ask the AI is about to take over the world, and you can't go to the AI and say, please tell me the script to write to stop the AI from killing us all. And it's like, I got you.
And you do it in Python.
Yes, we're gonna break into the data center where the hub of the AI is. I don't know, Tom Cruise will probably be involved. I don't do my own stunts, but
and
Tom can do that part.
Steampunk will also involved.
Exactly.
I imagine this video in my mind, and I will ask Sora later to do to create something for me.
We'll drop this video out there, and I will break in with. And you can't use a smartphone because the AI will control that. So we're gonna go find like one of those Nokia 3160s that'll survive an atomic bomb. Like I've got to somehow hand code Python by pressing 111-22777.
No, you can use T9. It's not influenced by AI. You can use T9 then.
Okay. Perfect.
Awesome. So you told me like education-wise, you told me like founding companies, getting rid of companies, if you call it like that. Not stop being, but distancing from ODTEC, going in the journey of AI. But let me ask you, what's left for you to reach, right? So I'm very confident when I say that you might be financial, like good settled for the future. You don't have to reach out for the next step there. You founded companies, very successful. You had people, you just teach people, you wrote books. I mean, there might be some science fiction book after I heard something like this, but what's left for you as a far goal?
So I've been told that you're not supposed to say I'm retiring anymore. My dad always said, if you're going to retire, he's like, make it the last item on your bucket list because it's the last thing you're going to do before you die.
Yeah.
But apparently the catchy term to say nowadays is I am financially independent.
Yeah.
Meaning if you are working, you are choosing to work, as opposed to retiring says I'm going to stop working because as I told you, I bore really easily.
Mm-hmm.
Like the thought of golfing or
gardening.
Yeah. Oh dear Lord. Like trying to count birds and like, oh, that's a blue-tailed black-headed warbler. Like no, it's a horrible idea. So, but you're right. I don't have anything to prove. I don't do it for the money. What I want to do is help change the world. Like, oh, that's a minor thing. I want to help step up and say, if we're going to look at the world before AI and after AI, I kind of want to be in the room. Like I want to help figure out what that AI future is going to look like and how it's going to change processes. How we're going to say, if we arrived in 2025, what would we create? And it's not going to be anything like what we built up to now, because every process from the dawn of civilization through 2023 assumed that a human would do it aided by technology. Any process you build nowadays, you're going to assume it's going to be technology run, aided by a human only if absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Like we don't really want them coming in and messing it up. So what I'm doing right now is I've started a few different AI companies, some of which are in stealth.
Of course you are. Like, how many? 5, 10? What is it?
I think I'm up to 3 at the moment. My beautiful wife, Dawn Frost, her nickname for me is Puppy. Mm-hmm. She says, Edward, if you leave him alone for 5 minutes, he'll like chew on the furniture. So she's, when I left Argonaut after Neural became part of Argonaut, she's like, I'm just terrified what you're going to come up with to do now. I will say on a money standpoint, I'm not a possessions person. I don't even own a car.
Okay.
Like I know some people like sell their company. And it's like I went out and bought a Maybach, or I got a BMW 7 Series and an M7.
Let me guess, you're just into planes, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I only do jets. No, I don't own a car. I own a 1,200 square foot condo where I live in Puerto Rico, and I have the house I used to have in Arlington, and that's it. Because my dad raised me to believe that anything you have can go away. It can be taken, it can be stolen, it can fall apart, and you're gonna have to worry about that thing. But no one can take your experiences. So if you can go out and do something new, something unique, you will remember that forever. So since I was 5 years old and I opted to go to the Grand Canyon over getting a new bicycle, I'm out collecting experiences. I get to travel the world. I think I've been in 15 countries so far this year. Highlight of my year so far, I had to sign up a year in advance to go visit Son Doong Cave in Vietnam.
Okay.
It's the largest cave in the world. Takes an entire week to get out to it and through it. You spend 3 days going through this cave. And it's to protect it and make sure it's still there in thousands of years. Plus, it's really athletically hard to get to it. And you have to have helmet and climb over rocks and everything to get down to it. They allow 10 people per day into this cave for 100 days a year, meaning 1,000 people get to go into this cave. And it's so magnificent. You think of a cave as being, the ceiling is like 3 meters above you. Imagine if the ceiling is 300 meters above you. Like so tall, you could put the Empire State Building in it and it still wouldn't come anywhere near the ceiling. Being able to do experiences like that, I now have the freedom. Like I can start a company and trust other people to go off and run it. I can provide my input. I can provide some financial capital, and I can go off grid and just wander into a cave for an entire week.
I'll go to KSCOPE for 1 week without thinking of being part of the exhibition, right?
Yeah, the largest thing I've been in cavernously, other than that cave this year, is this exhibit hall. Like these ceilings are really far up. We turn the lights off and you put a helmet on me, I could believe this was a cave.
It is basically, and you're not just only in the exhibition hall, you are in this little small glass cubic in the middle of the exhibition hall.
And we're in the fish tank if you were walking by and taking photos of us.
Yeah. I mean, if we have a ceiling, we would be quite even more than this there. All right. So another question would be, for you, it should be very easy to found a new company back in the days, right? So now you're focusing on AI, but the speed of the change, you already mentioned that, is not only like there's one technology a year, some versions of it, like new knowledge being made in there. But now AI, you're founding a new company, and like 2 months later, you said the technology used is already like gone or is already outdated. So are you confident in that those like 100 companies you might found in the next year might be there in 3 years or 4 years in this same constellation?
I think it's really difficult to go into a company nowadays compared to when I was 22. I was like, I'm going to found a company and I'm just going to run it for forever. And I was CEO of that first company for 25 years.
Yeah.
Your exit horizon now on a company has to be 3 to 5 because the technology is changing so fast. You have to assume you will be disrupted at this point. You have to assume you're going to disrupt someone else. And then if you don't disrupt yourself, you're going to get disrupted. So any company that I'm creating, I'm trying to keep it super fast growing, launch it quickly, get it out there into the market, and get out of it in 3 to 5 years. Anybody that thinks they have a moat around their product isn't paying attention. In 2023, the fastest growing and most launched company that was out there were these companies that let you analyze a PDF with AI. Because at the time, you could put text into ChatGPT, and there started to be a couple of competitors to ChatGPT, but none could handle a PDF. And then OpenAI went, oh yeah, we just added this button, and now you just click here, you give it a PDF.
Gone, right? Yeah.
They were gone overnight.
Yeah.
And so yes, anything I do, I want to help enable that and also be technology agnostic enough that if the technology starts doing it, or if another vendor appears out of nowhere, that we're able to implement and provide those services and provide good guidance. One thing that's not going out of style is needing a strategy. Like a whole lot of people think, oh, I really want this AI thing of which people speak, and they have no idea what that means. They don't know if it means a chatbot or if they want a robotic process automation. They want a virtual financial analyst. Like they need somebody to guide them down that path. So that's pretty stable. But Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a lot harder to start a company now. Back, I admittedly, I had a lot of hubris of youth back at 22. This is true. I honestly believe this is how consulting companies worked. People would call you on this thing called a telephone and say, please come out to my company. And you would come out, you would do some work, and then they handed you cash at the end of the day. Maybe it would be a check, but
Yes.
that's how it all worked. And then I got to discover things like you actually have to go sell and you have to market and you have to bring those things in. And then once they call you, you're going to have to be in a competitive situation and you're going to have to win that deal. And then once you actually do the consulting, they don't hand you the money at the end of the day. There's 30 or 60 days that go by and you have to eat all these expenses until that happens. But the paperwork was so much less then than it is now. Like the level of hurdles and administrative hoops that you have to go through at this point is insane. Good news, AI helps with all that.
Yeah, but you still do it like multiple times in short term.
I keep running afoul of like, oh, I didn't know about that thing that had come up. You know, it's like, oh, Delaware now charges a few $100s if you were a Delaware corporation. I'm like, when did that happen? I got to file a paper. And Texas is like, we now have a franchise tax we made up out of nowhere. So if you have a company there, you got to file for all this. And
give me the money simply just like
exactly.
That, right?
Yeah, let's go back to the days where you just handed me cash, like at the end of the day.
I mean, so we were talking about companies like business, the technical stuff you're doing, but I want to dig deep a little bit into one company you are one. I think it's a company too, but it's one kind of a service, right? You founded a company or a service that is helping young people for their mental health experience or not experience, maybe their anxiety, depression, and so on. And as I read that, I was very interested what your motivation behind this is. This is basically, I cannot imagine it's because of money or business success. It is basically a good thing you are doing. And I want to bring it up in this podcast.
Yeah, we're running into a mental health crisis. People that are coming up through Gen Z or Generation Alpha, we actually have our first kids being born in Generation Beta at this point. There are a lot of traditional techniques, CBT, behavioral therapy process, that was created back in the 1960s and was treated as the gold standard and nobody bothered to change it. It's what they still teach today. And they've started noticing that cognitive behavioral therapy doesn't work on Gen Z. The same methods that are tried and true are not happening. So we're seeing rising rates of mental health issues, rising rates of loneliness, suicide has been increasing, and we need to do something. One of the things that we've discovered is that Gen Z is more comfortable talking to a machine than they are a human. They've been raised like not to tell their parents what's actually going on in their lives, right? And they don't have friends that they truly trust to talk to. But they oddly are comfortable talking to an AI because the AI doesn't judge them. They don't have to worry that, oh, I told that to my mom. Now she's going to think I'm weird. The AI never does that. And if you prompt it right, if you write the right models, AI is able to actually give good guidance. There's some logistics hurdles to get over. You can't say that you're providing therapy through AI because it's still prohibited. You're providing mental health. So you can say we're providing advice, we're providing guidance. You can even say we're providing entertainment. But when you actually get into, we are trying to help mental health issues, you start adding humans into the whole mix. But I think that is the future because the traditional human method doesn't scale. Talking to a mental health professional, you're paying, let's just say $200 for a 50-minute time slot every couple of weeks. And you've got to schedule it. And you've got to plan for all your mental health issues to occur between 1 and 1:50 p.m., 2 weeks from now. They're not there to talk to you at 3 a.m.
Sure.
And the AI always is.
This brings, so if I imagine I have like a model, an online service young people can talk to maybe prevent them to be like kill themselves, right? So this might be a big amount of pressure on your company, right? The people who are technically realizing that, and also you. So if you have like hallucinating assistant talking to someone who's very instable right now, and you're the guy who just taking care of that problem, and it's just hallucinating, say, yeah, maybe you take a higher bridge now, right? So this would be a high
You're
pressure
right. Your
for
life
me,
sucks.
right?
You should go do something about it.
Exactly. You want to show the next McDonald's, and right? So if it's misbehaving, what are you doing then?
So there's a whole lot of red teaming that has to happen. And we, with our mental health application, we actually are able to go in and we escalate. Like we intentionally find out what the AI does when in a very stressful situation. One of the things that we've started doing is there's a certain point where it has to escalate to a human.
Yeah.
And we've started programmatically telling it, if you get to this point, you need to recommend that person stop what they're doing and call a suicide prevention hotline.
Okay.
They need to talk to a human. One of the things that we've explored is there a point at which we have to do that, whether they do it or not?
Mhm.
Like we have to step in and say, this person is in crisis
Yeah.
and we need to go save a life. Because you're right. This is not an application that we're going to make money on. It's an application we're going to save lives with.
Yeah.
And if we can measure, if our ROI can be measured in lives saved, great. I don't want to be anything that contributes to a greater suicide rate. That said, we can't say, well, then we're just going to stay away from it.
Mhm.
Like that we are not going to allow, you to say, I've been having suicidal thoughts. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if I should keep going. Like everybody, has points where we're worried the world's going to overwhelm us and we need somebody to be able to talk to. We just work really hard with the AI to help it understand when it's gotten to the point that it needs to bring someone else in.
Mhm.
It's a wonderfully thoughtful ear to talk to. And if there's not a controlled application, something that has been red teamed, that understands here are the levels, it shouldn't tell you, oh, you wish for ways to commit suicide. Allow me to give you my 10 most brainstorm.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't do things like that. If we don't create those applications, if we don't make them accessible to youth all around the world, they're going to talk to a completely unprompted version of ChatGPT. And they're going to ask those exact same questions. And it doesn't know how to escalate. It doesn't know at this point I should be offering advice.
Yeah.
They do some level of testing and coaching, but people can, I guess it's better that they're talking to ChatGPT than that they're keeping it inside.
Mhm.
But yeah, let's give them a better way.
Do you have experience how the acceptance for this kind of services? Because when I look back, so there was some time that people were just curious having like their phone having access to the calendar or having photos or location services. Nowadays, no one thinks of, do I share my location? Automatically always, right? So your app can always track me wherever I go. And if I guess that you have a service which is providing like a machine talking to with my private problems, I don't know what's happening behind that, how they make their money. So if you're not into knowing that there's no money involved or that much money involved, is the acceptance like younger people are doing it quite easily and they're happy to have this opportunity, and older people are just saying, no, I'm not trusting a machine? Or is it what I'm guessing?
It's interesting. What we've discovered is the more we publicly say we will never sell your data, we promise you that we're not going to do anything with this, that is confidential, the more it plants the idea in people's heads that we're selling their data, that it is not confidential, that it is not secure. It is, right? This is not a data play, but it's one of those, me think thou dost protest too much. Like the more you kind of outwardly say it, the more people kind of fear it. What we've discovered is that with Gen Z, they don't use terms like privacy. They assume, I'll tell you some interesting feedback in a second we got from one of the cohorts, but privacy it's almost an antiquated term. It's like my mom used to use the term, oh, those people sold out. And apparently, as she described it, it meant someone like a musician, like now gets paid gigs or something like that. And it didn't make it down to Gen X. There is no selling out. Well, Gen X, we used to talk about work-life balance and privacy concerns. And Gen Z is like, what do you mean? Like, you don't check your work email at home? Like, you don't check social media when you're at work? Like, they talk about like work-life blend, like the concept's gone. And privacy, we used to be extremely concerned. To your point, we now give away our location. We'll talk about, we'll post photos of every single place we are on planet Earth. We'll go out and say, like, oh, I stopped at 7-Eleven. I got a Coke Zero. I'm incorrigible. Like, it's all out there, and they don't care about that. The feedback we got from one of the cohorts was, why aren't there ads to the side of the interface? Like, what do you mean? It's like, well, you've got to pay for this somehow. So when I see targeted ads, I know that you're kind of analyzing it and saying these things might be relevant. If I don't see anything like that, it makes me worried you're making your money some other way.
Okay.
Like the idea of somebody reading my private chats, these things I'm sharing with a therapist. Imagine if you were talking to a therapist and there's a guy in the room going, have you considered Coke Zero?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Maybe safety razors are right for you. Like, what the heck is happening here? But
put some ads in it like, oh, you need a knife? Oh, no, it wasn't appropriate. do you share all the cookies with me? So let me see what you're doing the other way around.
Yeah. Have you considered the following tall bridges for vacation locations? It's like, what are you doing? But yeah.
Please stop talking for 30 seconds. You have to watch this ad before the therapist will answer you and do this capture or something.
I'm in crisis. And it's like, well, after you can skip this ad, surely, and find out what to do about it.
Get a premium subscription for your therapist.
Yes.
So he doesn't only speak a foreign language. Oh, man. All right. So you have a funny feedback you got. You want to share?
Oh, my funny feedback was about that they wanted ads. Like they genuinely wanted ads on it because they know that if they're not paying for the product, they are the product. So
got it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So before we go into our highly rated categories we're doing in the end of the podcast, I have one question left. So you also do a podcast. I mean, we notice, or the listeners will notice, that you are quite confident talking to a microphone, and you did it here at ODTEC all the time. Like I had 8 podcast sessions, I guess, and you had like 100 sessions in here even before I started in the day. You have a podcast with the name
Asking Good Questions.
That was
excellent. Yes, we are now in season 2 of Asking Good Questions. As for where that name came from, it's actually by my email signature for over a decade. Before that, it said "be excellent to each other," comma, and then Edward on the next line. And then I got some feedback from some Gen Z people that I was working with, some millennials. Like, why does it say "be excellent to each other"? And I'm like, that's from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's like, be excellent to each other. And I thought, they're like, yeah, that's dated. That just sounds really old. So it's like, well, what do I try and do? I believe technical knowledge becomes obsolete. Everything we learn is going to be replaced by something else. But what's not becoming obsolete is being able to ask good questions. And I think Einstein, at least he's credited with saying, if you ever told me I had 1 hour to live unless I solved a problem, I would spend 55 minutes framing the question. And I thought, if we can ask good questions, I didn't go for the asking great questions. I wanted like a minimal bar. So it's asking good questions. So
maybe it's a successor, right? So you can get to the next level.
Exactly.
Did you trademark that?
Yes. Oh, shoot. I have a lot of IP work to do the second this podcast is over. But yeah, we're on season 2 of Asking Good Questions. We're trying to stay at the intersection right now of finance and technology and how it's changing, like the office of the CFO. Season 1, I got to interview the former head of finance for Blockbuster, who was head of M&A at Blockbuster when they decided to call off buying Netflix way back when. And he tells a great story about how that all evolved. But I love doing that podcast because it lets me talk to amazing people. To your point, I was in the social media lounge inside this fishbowl doing over 20 interviews in 3 straight mornings with no break to use the restroom. So this is it's great being on the other side. It's great asking questions of me because it's one topic I know really, really well, better than anything else. So thank you, Kai.
Though there's no break between the sessions, and then Kai came in, just threw every technical stuff on the table he found, and just even prevents you from eating lunch, right?
Yes. So, my wife has actually texted me several times going, "Are you going to remember to eat today?" So the beautiful and wonderful Dawn is somewhere around this exhibit hall trying to hand me a vegetarian sandwich. But
I'm going to remind you after the session. So we're going into the categories, which might be a signal for ending this podcast. Maybe we do a part 2, and I'm very looking forward to get a couple of your guests you have for your podcast. So I'm reaching out to people and talk to them. They're interesting, but if you have connections to the Pepsi CFO, we might
absolutely.
chat that.
Yeah, we will. You should come on my podcast next, and I will interview you. It's like there's a world coming where it's either going to be AI interviewing AI or just podcast hosts interviewing other podcast hosts out there. But this has been a ton of fun.
So, but Edward, we will be the hand potting podcast, right? So
yes, exactly. There will be vibe potting and there will be hand potting.
Exactly.
Like that's us.
Again, trademark mark on my recorder here. So let's go into the categories. We have 3 categories, which are called hypothetically and in private and consumption. So first question from hypothetically. If you could undo one technological trend in recent years, what would it be?
If I could undo one technology
just
trend,
one.
I think that we are going too much into putting every application to try and fit everybody. Like, let's toss every feature into an ERP to make this one size fits all, because it becomes like a Franken application and it's just too entirely complicated. I What I would rather have done is that there was an ERP targeted to higher ed. There was one targeted to financial services. There was one for like death care. I have this belief that we've been trying to one size fits all everybody for the last several years. AI is going to be unique applications for everybody. So you're going to get a general ledger that exactly fits the Donato podcast world. I'll get my own Edward Roske like ERP that is exactly customized to me, and it won't need massive implementations. Like the AI will implement itself.
Wow, what an answer. So the other podcast guests were just talking about social media, like doom scrolling stuff, and you were just having like AI creating individual stuff for each and every one of us. I'm very looking forward to if this is happening. Next category, in private. Are you satisfied with your work-life balance?
Oh, see, there we go. Back to the Gen X term,
Yes.
the work-life balance. My dad actually is from the silent generation. He actually grew up during the Great Depression. He did the opposite of me. He had me very, very late in life. And he taught me that if you are fortunate enough to have a job, you should live and love that world from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed. I work on some weeks more than 100 hours, and it is my life, and I love it. It's fun. I really enjoy when I'm building something, creating something, talking to people. I slept 4 hours last night because I was up running Werewolf. Is that work? Because I'm doing it on behalf of KSCOPE? I'm moderating? Like, no, it's just a ton of fun. So I think
you have to recharge, right?
Theoretically, when I'm dead, I can get by on little sleep. I want to live fast, die young, leave a beautiful corpse. Go with the James Dean method. But yeah, in private, I would say this publicly. I love my balance of work and life. I like that we're now in a world that I can go work from Vietnam for a couple of weeks.
So recharging everything and go back to 100 hours a week.
Awesome. My dad always told me, I quote my dad a lot. He said, there are 168 hours in every week. We all have 168, and it's a matter of how you choose to spend them wisely.
Awesome. So I would cut the short right out of this and publish it right now. Awesome. Last category, consumption. How do you deal with the growing flood of information via various channels, like news information, and you got push notifications on your phone from like 200 apps at the same time, breaking news from this, that, and this. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, is everything breaking news? I think on the day of the inauguration, it was like breaking news. The inauguration is today. I'm like, actually, I think it's in the U.S. Constitution when the inauguration occurs. It would be breaking if it didn't happen. It's like, they decided to move it off for a week. Like, oh, no, wow, holy states. We're all flooded right now. I've started using AI as part of my workflow process. It's one of the things I'm very happy with is it started managing my content calendar and saying like it handles all the pushing of it. I tell it random ideas I have and it schedules them all out. From my email, AI is triaging it. I get a lot, forgetting the spam world, I get a lot of, hey, are you available? Or somebody asking me a question that's pretty straightforward. And I've actually written AI that tells me, yeah, Edward, I need some Edward involvement in this. Or the AI is like, yeah, I got you on this one.
Okay, so you have to give me the keyword. I got like direct access to you. It might be orange beyond the signature, so I can just pass through it. If I have any further questions.
That's funny as hell. I'm going to do a safe word. Yeah, somebody uses the safe word in an email and it automatically triages. Like
and all your devices at the same time, but do not say it in this podcast, right?
Yes,
better
exactly.
not. Awesome. So we coming to an end. I love talking to you, Edward. It was very nice having you. I think this will be a great episode for everyone, even beyond the pond, right? And I'm looking forward to connect back later today, and we will see each other on the conference still. And yeah, thank you for our listeners. Thank you for you joining me, and have a great day.
Thank you. And if I could say on my own podcast note, you've been asking really good questions. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This episode is powered by Hyatt, your smart companion for digital business solutions, and by ODTEC's gracious invitations and support. Thank you for having me at the conference and fueling this journey.